Hello. Little guide around Beat Agent drums today inside Groove Agent. So Beat Agent is the place where you're going to want to build hand constructed drum kits from any sounds that you want. So here we've got a hi-hat, a pretty ugly hi-hat. If we go over to instruments, you'll see a list of all the instruments available to you for all of your configured installed instruments. So here we have all of the different packs that are available in Groove Agent. You may or may not have one or more of them depending on what add-ons you've installed inside Groove Agent, but you're definitely going to have some, and you've got your instruments panel here which breaks it down sound by sound. So now when I click on any of these, if I have the pre-listen in place button selected down here, every time I single click on one of these things, I'm going to hear it in context. And if we have a loop playing, every time I select one of these, it changes real time. I'm single clicking. It's really easy to audition new sounds that are going to fit in that slot. I use this a lot. Really, really handy. It's not actually being assigned to that pad. If I click away and then come back, it's back to the sound that I originally had on that pad. It won't permanently assign it until I double click. So if I double click this one, that's now in that pad, and when I click away it stays there. So really useful for having your loop running. And once you pick one that you want, double click it and it's in. So that's great. That's working with pre-built instruments inside Groove Agent. And they're really useful. They're really, really good sounding, so highly recommended. Sometimes you're going to get multi-sampled layers like this one. So if I hit this hi-hat really softly, then you can see the sample playing. As soon as I start playing it more loudly, it's not playing the soft sample anymore, it's playing the louder one. And if I go right up here, I've got to give it some thump in order to hear that one. Now, each of these individual samples can be replaced in its own right. So let's have a look at how we go about that. That's the instrument as a whole, but we can drop individual sounds onto any pad from anywhere. They don't have to be the pre-built Groove Agent instruments. We go to Browser. Now this is my hard drive. So here we've got the sample drive, which is S. And inside this folder here, Core Samples, I've got individual drum sounds from all sorts of different sources. So I can now hear these sounds, and you see it's actually replacing one of the individual samples inside the pre-built instrument set. Now this can sometimes catch you out if you're working in instrument mode and you inadvertently select a sound with more than one sample, and then you choose to change that sound. Make sure you're not only updating one of the samples, because it's really easy to end up with old sound, new sound, old sound, and you've only actually replaced a third of the overall sound. But if I double click on that one now, then we've got the original very quiet sample, and then there's the middle one, and then up at the top end we've got the original hi-hat that we started out from the instrument bank. Now, between the combination of instruments and browsers, you've basically got complete flexibility to build this bank of 128 sounds however you like. We can copy these pads, paste them wherever we want. Now, it's a whole different tutorial to go into managing pads themselves and how we build the banks, but I just wanted to show you very quickly how to manage the sounds within the banks, to preview them really easily, to use your pre-listen in place. We turn that off, we don't hear the sound when we individually click. You can control the level of the audition, which is really useful. Sometimes you'll be in a bank of sounds that are just too dominant and not really fitting inside the mix. Got complete control over all of that kind of stuff. Very flexible, very powerful, highly recommended. Have a bit of a dig around instruments and then individual sounds from the browser. If that's been useful to you, please consider subscribing, and if you hit notifications, you'll find out when other content of mine comes out. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.